There are people with an IQ of 140 working as cashiers. There are average graduates who became multinational CEOs. This isn't a coincidence. And this was not about hard work. That night, Cass Daley was trembling behind the stage curtain. Her voice, everyone knew, was extraordinary. She had been practicing for years. But that night, what was on her mind wasn't the songs. What was on her mind was her teeth. Her mouth was wide. Her teeth were buckled, jutting forward. Under the spotlight of that New Jersey nightclub, she believed it was the only thing everyone would see. So she decided to hide it. She walked on stage, started singing, and throughout the entire song, she pressed her lips to cover her teeth, trying to look normal, trying to look professional. The result? She looked weird. The audience started laughing, not because of the song was good, but because of her expression, because she looked like someone trying not to fart in the middle of a concert. Her face turned red. And inside, she had already decided. This was the first and last time she would ever step on a stage. But in the corner of that nightclub, there was a man watching. Not like the other audience members who were laughing. He saw something different. After the show, that man approached Cass Daley, and what he said changed everything. But before we get to that, we need to talk about what was actually happening inside Cass Daley's brain that night. Because this isn't just about teeth. This is about something almost every talented person does, without realizing they're doing it. In 2000, psychologist Thomas Gilovich from Cornell University did something rather cruel. He asked the student to wear a t-shirt with Barry Manilow's face on it, a singer considered uncool at the time. Then he sent that student into a room full of people. Gilovich's question: how many people would notice the shirt? The student's answer: about half the room. The actual answer: around 1/4. Gilovich called this the spotlight effect. Simple version: you think there's a massive spotlight aimed directly at your flaws, that everyone notices the pimple on your nose, the stain on your shirt, but they don't. People are too busy worrying about their own spotlight. Cass Daley believed everyone was looking at her teeth, but everyone was listening to her voice. And this isn't just theory. Gilovich's study found that we consistently overestimate how much others notice us, by an average of twice the actual amount. Twice. Meaning, half of the shame you've been carrying never existed in anyone else's head. It only exists in yours. The question isn't how big your flaw is, but how much you've spent hiding it. But wait, if the problem was just the spotlight effect, then talented people should have it easier, not harder. They have more ability, more options. So why is it so often the talented ones who fall behind? Because there's a second layer, and this is something people rarely talk about. In 1978, psychologist Pauline Clance discovered something she called the impostor phenomenon. And this is one of the biggest paradoxes in the psychology of success. The most talented people most often feel they don't deserve their achievements. Meanwhile, people who feel ordinary have nothing to hide. They're not afraid of being found out because they never pretended, so they move forward. Subsequent research estimates that 70% of people across many professions have felt this at least once. 70%. Not the ones who failed, the ones who succeeded. And this creates something even darker. Ed Jones and Stephen Bergles called it self-handicapping. Here's how it works. Because talented people are so afraid of being proven not as smart as they thought, they start creating reasons to fail before even trying. They procrastinate. They underestimate the opportunities. Not because they're lazy, but because if they fail while giving full effort, it means their talent genuinely wasn't enough. And that is too painful to imagine. So they choose to fail due to lack of effort, not lack of talent. The identity stays safe. The smartest brain sabotages itself. Okay, now back to Cass Daley. Do you still remember the man in the corner of that nightclub? He approached Cass after the show, and he said, "You are hiding something that is not your fault. Open your mouth wide, sing freely, be exactly who you are, and the audience will love you." That wasn't a motivational line, that was a diagnosis. He wasn't telling Cass to become better. He was telling Cass to stop pretending. And science proves it. Michael Kernis and Brian Goldman developed a framework of authenticity. The result? That people who present authentically tend to be rated as more competent, more trustworthy, and more likable compared to those who present as perfect. The final paradox. You think hiding your weaknesses makes you look strong. But what actually makes you look strong is the courage not to hide them. It's not your weakness that kills your career. It's the energy of hiding it that kills it. Cass Daley followed that man's advice. The next performance, she opened her mouth wide. She sang freely. She hid nothing. The result? The audience stood up, standing ovation. In the years that followed, winner of multiple competitions, radio star, film star, she didn't change her voice. She didn't change her teeth. The only thing that changed, she stopped believing her teeth were the problem. Cass Daley was real, but her story isn't about singing. It's about you who's afraid to present because of your accent. You who didn't send your CV because you felt your education wasn't enough. It's about every talented person who chose silence. Not because they couldn't, but because they were too afraid of not being perfect, while the ordinary ones raised their hand and got that opportunity. A question worth sitting with for a moment. What are you hiding right now that is actually not your fault? Not a weakness, not a flaw, but something you consider shameful, when in reality, it's the most authentic part of who you are. And the follow-up question, how much longer do you want to keep hiding it? Ordinary people who succeed, not because they have no flaws, but because they didn't spend their lives hiding them. If this felt close, save it, because this is the kind of thing that's easy to forget the moment you keep scrolling. Subscribe if you want psychology that doesn't just explain how the brain works, but why it sometimes works against you. Behind the behavior, every behavior has a reason.